I think this was the most heartbreaking question I've ever received.
The questions I'm asking myself about mathematics are not answerable in the field of mathematics. There's kind of this Gödel's theorem situation. She says in her book that femininity and mathematics are discursively incompatible. So people who think they're not biased do actually discriminate the most. I don't know what is your situation. Do you have some female collaborators, Mura?
No? Hi, welcome to Math Life Balance. Today our guest is Olga Paris-Romaskevich, math researcher working at CNRS and a popularizer of mathematics. And it's a pleasure to have you as a guest on my channel again. And today we have a special mission. We will discuss the topic of women in math and your new project on this topic. Welcome.
Hello, Mura. Привет, and I'm very happy to be here one more time.
Let's start with your project. Recently, you became a co-author of a book about girls and mathematics. And could you tell us what the book is about?
Okay, so the book is indeed in French. It's called Matheuses. In English, it's Math Girls. So it's about girls that do and like math. So this book is a book on sociology of mathematics. So sociology is a science which studies why people do what they do. And it's written by sociologist Clémence Pironnet, who is a sociologist of scientific culture. Myself, who wrote mathematical problems in this book, because there is also math in this book, and Claire Marc, who is a science communicator and who did illustrations to this book, even though saying illustrations is a little bit not true to the work of Claire, because she really put the sociological thought of Clémence in the picture. So it's not only illustrations, there are some like arguments advanced in pictures. So it's this three women's work about sociology and mathematics with pictures. And the main question that the book treats is why there are so few girls in mathematics, even though, for example, in France and in many Western countries, girls actually have better grades in school than boys. So there is this paradox. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, girls, they have better notes, and there are many studies about, for example, that for a girl to feel confident enough in herself at the same level of grades with boys, she has to have at least like to be in the top 10% of grades. So if you really excel at mathematics, maybe you have the same confidence that the boys of more or less your level. So yeah, so this is a paradox. Like often sociological questions about society are formulated in this kind of paradox ways. And so Clémence Pironnet, she approached this question by the following study. So she came to a school that is still organized in Marseille. I was an organizer for 4 years of the school, and my colleagues continue doing this. So there was like a 10th edition recently. So the school is only for girls. It is 1 week school that is going on the school vacation. And so these girls, instead of going to vacation or staying at home doing something they want, they go to this International Center of Mathematics in Marseille called CIRM. They spend 1 week working on open problems in mathematics. So we give them some questions that they can do research on in small groups, and the idea is really to propose them to work on something different from what they see in school, when you have like a question and you have to find an answer in a very limited time. And there is a very general problematic, and then they go exploring it for 5 mornings in this week. And in the afternoons, they have meetings with researchers, people who work in industry, mostly female professionals, and some other fun activities like karaoke and things like that. The food is very good, and the calanques in Marseille are very beautiful. So usually girls like the school. So this is the setting of the sociological study. And so what did Clémence Pironnet with her colleague Alice Pavy? They observed what was happening in the school. So it's like observation technique coming initially from anthropology. So just looking at what we do. And second technique, it's a sociological interview. So a little bit like what you do, but after with questions very finally prepared with some sociological goal, and then studied with concepts that help understand what people say and how they conceive their life and their world. So, and based on this study, we wrote this book. So the sociological chapters are written by Clémence Perronnet, and she explains why there are so few girls in mathematics. And okay, I will try to pitch like why very quickly. The main idea with the book is that there are indeed some groups that lack in mathematics, not actually only girls, but also people from lower economical background and racialized and ethnic minorities. So when I say racialized, it's a sociological term because race is a social construct. We are thinking this in this way, that it's structurally, like it's constructed by some social perception. There is this exclusion which happens not only in France. So the book is mostly about France. So what I wanted to say is that there are different groups, and actually in some ways the reasons that they are lacking are the same. So there are some explicit percentages of women. For example, in school in France, there are like 54% of girls, and then we have less and less girls. And for example, in mathematical research careers today in France, there are 20% of women, and it's actually the number which is the same since 1989, the year Association Femmes et Mathématiques started counting. So it's like a graph which is just a horizontal line. So there is yes, it was a very depressing graph that I saw when I arrived to France to do a PhD. Yeah, so we hope that there will be some positive movement. So yeah, what are the reasons for this lack? Sometimes people would say, girls just don't choose math. And the reasons are the following. So the first reason is it's the obstacles that these groups, girls in particular, face and live on a daily basis, like starting from sexist remarks coming from family, school, teachers, or their classmates, remarks in the street, etc. Also, something that comes from institutional exclusion. It can also happen on the institutional level. For example, in France, there is a and you can't wear some religious clothes in school, which is related to the like religion is very racialized in France. It's especially Muslim, especially Islam. So it's sometimes this kind of discrimination can be discrimination of state. So there are many obstacles every day. So this is one reason that doesn't help for women in particular to stay in mathematics. The second reason is related to the first, but it's like a cultural perception of a mathematician, of who can be a mathematician, who can do mathematics, who can do science. And the thing is that talent and intelligence, we are not born with them. Like Clémence Perronnet's first book is called La bosse de maths n'existe pas. So La bosse de maths is this shishka, like a thing on your head that helps you to be a better mathematician. Like, so this idea that you have some part in your brain that is corresponding to mathematical talent. But actually our culture constructs what it is to be intelligent, brilliant in mathematics. And this construction is related to the construction of being a guy, white guy, heterosexual guy, and coming from higher economical class part of the society. So it's really like, to give you an example, for example, there are studies of children in class. So, for example, when boys ask a question to a professor, mathematical professor, interrupting them, the professor is saying, "Oh, very interesting question," and kind of adds on this. When girls behave the same, they are considered like interrupting the discussion. So this was observed 30 years ago. So this idea that the same behavior is considered as a spark of mathematical brilliance for guys and not socially acceptable behavior for girls. So this idea that the brilliance is constructed in this way. So this is also a big problem and for women in mathematics, because it's very hard to have an image of how you can be a mathematician. And the third reason is this lack of liberating knowledge, I would say, like knowing the history of mathematics and women that existed always in the history of mathematics that we forgot, that people who wrote history books, teachers, people who worked with women but used their work or didn't cite them, all of this made that these women are forgotten today, even though there is some work to get them back into the history. Also, there are obstacles to that to recognize all of this as a social problem, as a collective problem, and not the individual problem, because it's also there is this discourse that if you have troubles with mathematics, it's your problem, it's only your problem, and there is this psychologization of the social situation. Like there is this thing that we are doing all together, but the responsibility is only on women, say. And so there is this double responsibility, double victimization, because first you leave all these obstacles, and second you have to deal with them because that's your problem, that you can't concentrate on mathematics and think about how people were mean to you in the lab all day. So these are the reasons. I don't know if I were clear, but there is a big book, right, to read, and many
Oh,
many
yeah, yeah.
books
So
to
this
read
is,
about.
oh, by the way, to everyone, dear viewers, this is a teaser for Ola's book. So please read the book, especially if you can read in French. And if you cannot, you can join me at the adventure of learning French, which I'm doing right now. Just all just
Oh,
to read Ola's book. Yes, that's the main motivation.
yes, but I can also recommend you some books in English, waiting for the translation. For example, there is a book by Sarah Hottinger, which is called Inventing the Mathematician, Gender, Race, and Our Cultural Understanding of Mathematics. It's written in English, and it's written by a professor of women's and gender studies, but she did mathematical studies at the beginning. So I think she worked in topology initially, and she speaks about this cultural aspects and constructing of mathematical subjectivity, which is necessarily male. So that's a cool book, already in English.
Thank you. Thank you for the recommendation. So, which sociological facts were particularly surprising to you during this research being conducted by Clemence?
Yeah, so for me, like the main surprise was, I mean, I was always studying mathematics, and for me, just the fact that sociology exists was kind of a surprise. I discovered it with Clement's work, and a little bit before, like when I started understanding that the questions I'm asking myself about mathematics are not answerable in the field of mathematics. There's kind of this Gödel's theorem situation where you have to get out from the world to be able to observe it. And I think that what is striking about sociology in general is that it's the idea that there exist tools to understand something that we can perceive as deeply personal experience, and to explain it as something coming from the way we interact with each other. So for me, it's a general thing, magical thing about sociology. I think what I understood is really how hard it is for young girls to who like math to find the way to negotiate their identity with it. Like that's how much mental charge it is of justifying themselves constantly to themselves and to people around them that they like mathematics. So Sarah Hottinger, she says in her book that femininity and mathematics are discursively incompatible. And
Can I just interrupt you and say that where I was studying, there was a popular joke. So there is an animal which in Russian is called by two words, none of which describe this animal. And the popular joke was that a woman mathematician is like that animal, neither a woman nor a mathematician, which I have been told repeatedly. Yes, please continue.
exactly. This proverb, I tried to cite it in my French interview to a French journal Libération, and I tried to translate this joke in French, and it didn't happen very well. Anyway, You formulated very well. Not saying what animal it is. I think it's a very good idea.
I had time to
Anyway.
practice, Olya. I was told this repeatedly. So.
Yeah, so I was told it as well, of course. So yeah, this is I think this is a very interesting proverb because it illustrates this discursive incompatibility greatly. But you also can see it, and Clémence saw it when she interviewed 45 girls from the study, because, for example, there is one which is uh, like brilliant in this masculine construction way. She doesn't need to work much. She understands everything very well, but she says, "I don't work a lot, so I feel bad. I don't feel well because I feel I'm taking the place of somebody else." Like she has trouble reconciling finding a way to be intelligent as a girl. Like she is intelligent by all these golden standards of the male mathematical subjectivity, but she says, no, I don't feel this is my place. It feels like there is no way for a woman to be a mathematician, but the problem is not with women, but with the way we perceive mathematics. So and you see it, like all the girls in the study have trouble with this in some way. Like they really spend time trying to think about their place in mathematics and all those things. And it's, in some sense, it feels like you can't solve this. It's like a problem you can solve because you have to reconstruct all the mathematics
This
in
was
some
just
way.
something I was about to ask you. So, when you said that you found out that sociology explains some personal psychological experiences through such sociological reasons, did it make you, happy or unhappy?
Okay, I also like cinema and I like some sad movies. And people ask me like, why? How can you watch this? But they're so like the way they are made is so gives me more lucidity and clearness that I'm happy after I'm watching them. And I think with sociology it's the same. Yes, it like you feel more anger and injustice, but at the same time, like you actually already felt them before. You just couldn't interpret them. And I prefer that I understand how, like, why I feel this anger, which seems inexplainable, and that I kind of maybe sometimes redirect against myself. And sociology says, like, you are not responsible for this, or at least for the discrimination you live. You are not responsible. You are maybe responsible for other discrimination other people live, but at least, yeah, I think if I have to choose between happy and unhappy, I think it makes me happy.
Ola,
Yes,
I
because we
think
can change something. We can really kind of think of these big problems in a way in which we can kind of stand and think what we can change.
I love your optimism. Also, the way you're talking, we've only been talking for, let me see, 21 minutes. So I already want to study sociology.
You see?
You advertise things way too well. So I had another question for you, and that is, I'm really curious. How did you implement mathematics? You said there were math problems in this book. How did you, into a book about sociology, put math into it?
So the deal that Clemence proposed to me is the following. So it was a simple deal in some sense because the problems that I had to implement were more or less the problems we proposed to girls. So the problems that we kind of open problems about mathematics. So let me give you one example. Like, for example, there is a problem called Maya's problem, and it's about peak formula in mathematics. So it's you have a polygon on the square tiled plane, and you have to calculate its area. And there is a very nice formula relating its area to the number of dots inside the polygon. So, and this formula, you can kind of guess it and you can try to figure out the proof. And the thing is that while we are teaching girls, like we are opening for them the possibility to learn about math, they do it in group, they have a lot of time, and there are also people with whom they can discuss. So, of course, it's not the same situation when you have just 2 pages and you need to propose, like, to guide this kind of open problems in the book. But I did my best, so I tried to formulate the problem and formulate kind of some little challenges that people can follow. And there are also answers in the book that if you want to skip the problem or read the answer, you also can do it. And we precise it in the book. Like we precise also that people can choose their problem, choose the challenge they want to do. They can also skip the math problems. Like, I mean, between us, of course, it's not the most important part of the book. The most important part is the part about explaining explaining the sociology of mathematics so that it can help girls, but also their teachers, their parents, guys as well.
Very interesting. Well, you're saying it's not the most important part. I understand, but for me, who was like, since I care a lot about popularization of mathematics in non-trivial ways, I found it very curious that you put math there.
Yeah, I think we wanted also to have the book that responds to that explains how the sociological work was done, and also to have an idea of what was happening in the school. So it seemed like a good thing to do. And also there are many little explanations why mathematics is good in this book. It also brings some kind of respiration between quite hardcore sociology chapters. It also plays in representation of women doing math, because each chapter is associated to a girl doing math. And there is this idea of do it yourself, not telling people what to do. And all the problems are presented from the first person singular, like a girl is presenting what she did, what questions she asks herself, etc. So there is no this neutrality zone without no pronouns, and like let X be n-dimensional space. There is not no such things directly. It starts like from a little story. So, but these are like little writing hints, I think, to deconstruct like the way the mathematics is constructed. Yeah, it's not as easy when you have only 2 pages, and it's true that I think in some sense my problems don't really respond to the ambition that Clemence has of the change for mathematics. But I think that I hope and I think that once this book is printed, people who read it now will have more time to think about it. For example, I know that there is one comic book drawer who is now working on a project on the story of Mirzakhani and her work. And he said to me that he read the book and he is really making his best to follow the advice that there is in this book, because he has lots of women and girls in his comic book, so he tries to not reproduce some cultural stereotypes that there exist. So I know people will use the ideas from this book to do more popularization.
Yay! That's very cool. So, I have a question that I'm very often asked, and I think you'll have a better answer. Could you please tell us why is it useful to make mathematical events only for women?
Like, first of all, you have to define why, like what is your goal, I think. And but let me first answer you about this particular school, because when we were organizing the school, we also had this question as organizers, like, is it a good idea? Is it helping girls be more interested in mathematics? Will they go to mathematical studies after that? Do they feel better being only among girls? And all these questions. What Clemence shows and what girls share is the following. So, first, they feel more valorized. They feel they were chosen to come to this workshop. So they are already happy about this. So they do a motivation letter. They write a motivation letter to come to the workshop. And there were twice more demands than the places we had. So we had to make some choices. Who we take. And for them, being chosen to come is already very important. It really made them feel better. So already this was already doing something for
But
them.
wait a sec. So they would also feel happy if there was a workshop for everyone with choice, right? Where only a few people get chosen. So that's
Yes, it's true. But I think when they were asking for the workshop that was only for girls.
Mhm.
So it means that they still considered it classy enough I mean, they still wanted to get in. It's not the argument for only girls' schools, but I mean, the fact that they applied shows that they found it interesting. And actually, like in the answers to our small questionnaire, in the end, they like all girls except for 3 or 4 said that they were very happy to be only among girls, and those who were not happy and would say, I would like to be with boys, did have very specific social profile. They were already like their parents were professors or scientists. They were already very much in the scientific world, so they maybe didn't need to be only with girls, or maybe felt that it was not serious enough. Maybe they already integrated in some way this idea that if there are no men, then it's not serious enough.
That's very
So
interesting, right?
yes, and I also heard it from colleagues, and students, for example, concerning women in maths conferences, that they not necessarily want to go there because they feel that their work will be delegitimized once they go there and not seen as serious as some other work. And I think it's the question of how sexism can also work together with elitism, and like how they can push each other, that in the situation where you have some golden standards of how to be a mathematician, other people can be pushed away even more. There is this French sociologist, Bernard Zarkar, who studied mathematicians in France, and his book, his article is called Mathematician, Elitist, and Masculine Profession. And he really explains how this both work together. Coming back to happy places for women in math. So the first idea is that, they felt more valorized by this program in general. Second, that they felt not alone because so in France, there is this very specific system in school where you have to choose, starting like 12 years old, you choose more and more the specialities you get. So there are some students that get 2 hours of math per week, and there are some who get 12. And like this choices, yeah.
Wow.
And it's called Math Expert. So Math Expert is like 12 hours or something like that. And there are very few girls in Math Expert, like maybe 1 or 2. And like before the 2019 French reforms, there were 5, and then they did divide the numbers. They feel, those who are in Math Expert, they feel very lonely because there are not many girls, and so finding that there are so many girls and friends that like math, it made them feel not alone and united and having some kind of solidarity. And solidarity, it's not easy to measure, but you see it like in karaoke evenings, and how they in the end, when they leave, how they cry, how they say exchange numbers, how they really stay in touch. It's really very strong. And I think it's also happens for women mathematicians. Like, we usually, once we met, we kind of stay together. And not all of us, but there is this idea of recognizing each other in the labs, because we are not, there are few of us. And the third reason is just a pause from sexism, in some, not completely, because it still can happen. I mean, just having a girls only public doesn't prevent you from stopping all the power relationships. So it's not a perfect place, but the girls did share that they were happy that there were no remarks from the boys, that they could ask questions and think about mathematics. There are the studies about like how girls have trouble placing a question in the school class, and just having a possibility to speak. So there they could speak in a more free way. So these are the reasons they really felt more secure, more happy. Yes. So this is what we observed. But Clémence Perronnet, she also says that we have to be attentive, that this kind of workshops won't solve all the problems, because first, as I said, the power relationships don't stop when you just do this girls only situation. There was also racism and elitism, and some kind of like how we speak about women and math as mathematicians. It's not only always perfect, even though we are there for girls in math, so we try to do our best. But sometimes when we are not we didn't study enough. We are not prepared. We can make mistakes, and yeah, it's still like just creating this little island for some small time. It's very it makes a good feeling. I think it really helps also for like the memories that you could do mathematics in this context. It can stay with you for a long time, but at the same time, then they will come back to school, and it won't solve the big problem. So I think like just organizing schools for girls in mathematics won't solve the issues of the French school system. But it's a relatively safe space where you can gain a little bit of confidence to and good memories, so that you can come back in the world of full mixed world, and try to advance with this. Yeah, so this is, I think, some reasons that clearly show that it has some interest. Yeah.
And so I remember you told me, I don't know if you want to share this, but I was very impressed. You said that Clemence found out that some girls would not come to a school if it would have been a mixed school. Could you tell about this? Because I think that's like really, really impressive.
So of course there are many reasons that can stop girls from coming for 1 week in a place that they don't know, where you sleep at the place. And indeed, there are parents who don't feel safe to leave their girls to sleep in the environment where there are boys as well. This is a reason to organize only girls meetings, is also to convince parents that it's a safer space. And this is actually an important question, especially for people who are far from science and kind of already have some idea of how universities work, who have really no idea what will happen at this place. You need to work with parents. You need to make parents come to this place like months before, explain them, make them a guided tour. Then you work with the teachers in the schools where their children go, and you work with teachers. And this is the way you can involve parents. In general, working with parents is a very useful method. To give one example, I have a colleague, Erica Roden, that I think you met, and they organized a project in Mexico. They were teaching in a school which was on the lowest ratings in Mexico on mathematics, and they stayed for quite a long time teaching students, but also their parents mathematics. And
Oh,
the school moved up a lot. I mean, I don't know if they were first, but they moved up a lot in the ratings after like maybe 6 months or 1 year of this kind of work. And that's amazing. The idea to work with parents is very important, because parents who have the understanding that school is very important, they do help their children to do their homework. And some other parents, they want to help, but sometimes they just can't, and they didn't have a good experience with mathematics. And it's very important to work with parents, because they also may have other children, and it really launches some family dynamics. There is also the study that people coming from popular backgrounds, if you have one girl who had studied science, she will kind of, there is a more probability for the second girl to do science, because like the older sister will teach the younger sister.
nice. So, just on the previous subject, I wanted to say to the viewers more clearly. So, there, according to the study, there were some girls at the school that Olya is telling about who would not be allowed by the parents to come had it been for boys and girls. So, I think this is a very direct answer to the question whether we need such initiatives. Like, if the parents don't allow you to come to study mathematics, of course, that's a definite reason.
Yeah, especially because there is a night stay. For one day, they would let them go because the school trips can happen, but the night stays make parents fear.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just saying that for us coming from academic backgrounds, I think it's hard to imagine that parents would not allow to go to like school on some subject. So I think that's something very not intuitive and important to keep in mind, right?
Yes.
But you also mentioned that it's not enough to do such schools only. So I wonder What makes a gender equity initiative successful, you think? And maybe if you could, so you already shared some of your favorite initiatives, but you can tell more if you want.
Maybe one more thing about women in math conferences. I think for us in academia, for ourselves, there could be more initiatives. There was the initiative for students on the first years, like close to our school, for girls from school. And this is, I think it's a cool idea when you just start university studies in mathematics to do such kind of a week together with other girls from different universities. And for women in math conferences, I think it's very important to deconstruct our own sexist stereotypes. I don't know what is your situation. Do you have some female collaborators, Mura?
No?
Mm. So when I started being a feminist, I started thinking, I didn't work with women. Like, I mean, I worked with my friend Marie Lucien, but we mostly worked on outreach projects, and I'm understanding that I was subconsciously probably not choosing to work with women, and I think it's important to also to collaborate more with women, for women and men, for everybody, and for trans people as well, and non-binary people as well. Like, we need to collaborate with each other, and I think women math conferences can help this as well. And for success of the project that works on against discriminations, I think based on my experience, I think one thing for the organizers is to have a common goal, to be agreeing on what you are searching for, because this will make things easier. Because sometimes the initiatives in which I participated, maybe among organizers, our goals were not exactly aligned, which is complicated to work with each other, but it's also complicated for the project you create, because it's very ambivalent. It's not the best situation, nor for your collaborations, nor for people who come to this project. And the second idea, I think this is related to the story about parents who don't give the possibility to their children to go to the school, is the idea to be aware of the needs and of the um, fears and of the situation of people you want to reach. Because if you're not aware of the needs of the public or their interests, you will never reach them, because you will be thinking like mostly about what you like about math. And I think this is very common in people who do outreach, and it's great because it's passion, it's motivation, etc. But if you want to do something that doesn't discriminate, you have to think about also people that are not yet there, and that maybe they are interested but they didn't have the information. But there is also some possibilities that they're just not interested, and you have to understand why. Like, what are their needs, what their views of mathematics, what mathematics they would like to listen to, and all the things. This is, I think, the second important point. Common goal, being aware of the needs of your public, and also, not being too motivated to change the world, I think also is a good idea. Not to be too ambitious about like solving all these problems in one step. Maybe just being ambitious on learning more about how we can do it.
Yeah. So how not to get demotivated if you're saying that the graph of women in math in France is a constant line and there are so many problems. So how to keep up the optimism and do these kind of things?
Knowing that you are right. Yeah, knowing in your heart that that's the thing to do.
So do you have your favorite initiative that you haven't told us about yet?
I was thinking, so there was one about this working with parents story that I really like. And another one, it's Makiko Sasada from Japan, who told me about this initiative. We had a girls in mathematics Zoom in 2022 for a World Congress for Women in Mathematics. And she told that she organizes mathematical activities for girls and the same mathematical activity at the same moment for their mothers in different rooms. And then they meet and discuss. And I really like this idea because I really believe that this idea of working with families is very strong. And the idea of separating children from parents so that parents don't do their parenting stuff while the children do mathematics. And also they have some time to think about mathematics themselves. I think it's a very, very nice idea.
So I used to try to give some math popularizing books to my family, and while my father would immediately say that this is too hard for him and not even try, my mom honestly, like seriously, tried to read, and of course, I mean the books quickly get hard. But I remember how much, like it was a very exciting moment for me when my mom called me and started explaining me excitedly that square root of 2 is irrational. Like she started,
Uh,
this was at the moment. This fact or the proof were surprising for her, and she started explaining them to me like, "Do you know? Could you imagine?" This was so nice. Yeah, it was Edward Frankel's book about love and math.
Yes, that's wonderful. My mom, she's a math teacher in university, but when
Ah,
she came home, she didn't want to speak about mathematics. I remember when we were eating, and I was psyched about in French it's dénombrable, and in Russian it's счетный, and how it's in English.
countable.
Countable. So I was excited about countability, and I was saying to my mom, "Oh, do you think there are more even numbers than prime numbers?" And she was like, "Leave me alone. Let's just eat."
Oh.
But I had my sisters. That's fine.
Ah, did she talk to you about this?
Yes, yes. I taught her a little bit before, as older sisters do. So yeah, no, my sister she did half of the PhD in mathematics. So
I was wondering whether there would be at some point an appropriate moment for me to share a little bit of my experience as a girl in math when I was young. Oh, maybe I'm still young. Okay, when I was younger. No, when I was growing up, I grew up. Well, can I use a moment to share that?
yes, of course.
I,
That's your channel.
well, but I mean, I'm really interested in listening to you. But just for a moment, I want to share that I grew up in a humanities family, and so on one hand, my family is very academic. On the other hand, no person in my family can solve a quadratic equation. And so, growing up was interesting because I got interested in math very early in like 7th grade of school. I was going around and saying that I want to be a mathematician because I knew that to every school subject you can add a suffix and it becomes a profession, a researcher. So I knew about existence of research profession, but I didn't know what it means to be a mathematician, of course. And so I went around saying this, and every single person, I just want to say this out loud, for people who are maybe not knowing the context, every person who was not my relative would try to discourage me to become a mathematician. And not because they were bad people, because they were caring actually about me. They knew that this is a very, very much male dominated profession. And they knew that studying at the math faculty in Russia at the time for a girl would have been a most likely traumatic experience, which I mean, okay, I don't want to say scary things here, but let's say that I kept, so just Olya mentioned in the beginning that girls have to like fight with this identity struggle, and I kept saying like it was a daily routine, just like brushing teeth was to explaining that I will be a mathematician to everyone who told me that I should not be a mathematician. And even my math school teachers, at whom, like, if I was even if I was doing the best in the class in math, the teacher would tell me that you should not become a mathematician, like you should go teach math or go become an engineer or something, but like definitely not a mathematician. It's not for girls, it's not for girls. I kept hearing this every single day, and and because I was like convinced I didn't want to go. So actually, the reason I didn't do math is that I didn't have any other option back then in my mind. Like I didn't have a plan B or plan C. I was just like stubborn. But I want to say hi to my family and say thank you for the fact that while they had no clue what it means to be a mathematician either, they were convinced that my gender is not supposed to affect who I can and cannot be. And so at some point there was a situation when a math professor told to my mom that I should, like, if studying at the math faculty is hard for me, perhaps I should quit. My mom said, "Of course she shouldn't quit. What do you mean she should quit? She wants to do this. What do you mean?" And so only at home in my humanities family did I not hear that I cannot be a mathematician because it's not a girl's thing. But I kept hearing this, and I think it was especially hard from math teachers. I'll share with you the most heartbreaking moment. Okay, so I was like, went on for years because, as I said, I got interested in math early on. So and now imagine we're in the last grade of school where you like last year when you're supposed to decide where you're going, do the exams for the precise faculty. And I was taking like extra classes in informatics or computer programming, so learning to program a bit. And the teacher, this was hard for me, so I had to like pay for extra classes. I couldn't understand the material, and the teacher kept asking me like where do I want to go. I kept saying that I want to study mathematics, and actually this exam was not necessary. So I just felt that I need to understand something about programming if I want to study mathematics. So he asked what I really want to do, and I said mathematics. And then there was silence, Ola. There was silence, and I remember this moment. I remember that he did not say anything about women in math. There was just like he posed a question. I gave an answer that I want to study mathematics, and he didn't say anything. And I remember this moment of relief. Like, I felt such relief. For a second, someone believed in my choice. And I felt so, so happy and so at peace. And then the silence ended because he continued his question. He said, "Yeah, but what do you really want to do?"
Silence is gold.
I think this was the most heartbreaking question I've ever received.
Yes, that's exactly how psychologization happens. Like, how can you resist this kind of questions when everybody asks you, what do you really want to do when you just want to do mathematics? Yes. I'm so happy your parents were so in love with you that they just didn't really think about all this stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm glad about their confidence. My mom confidently believes that I deserve the best, and her confidence has been helpful, even if it's irrational. Speaking of moms and such, so I was wondering, do you have actually a female role model or someone mathematician you look up to?
Yeah, my mom is certainly a role model, but I think like role model phrase really is complicated. I prefer partial role model. It's much easier. Like when I go to schools as a role model, I'm saying to myself like, Olga, you are not a role model. You are a partial role model. So I like this idea of having many people that inspire me, but I don't know, like the role model in the way who I want to be when I grow up. I'm not sure.
Maybe who
Maybe I
is
grew up too
could you
much.
could you tell about someone who's inspiring for you so that we could feel your
Yeah, but
inspiration?
there are many people that really are inspiring just because they exist. I think many, many. Okay, so I'm thinking, for example, of Michel Audin and Catherine Goldstein, who are both mathematicians and historians of mathematics. So I spoke with them first time maybe 8 years ago when I was working on a series about mathematics, and I did not a very good job on the history of mathematics part, just trying to tell what one told me when I was studying math and forgetting all the women in history of mathematics. And I think it's, yeah, I learned from them that it's really important to not only learn math, but like how this math was created and have this critical point of view of our mathematical community. I really like this about them. And Catherine Goldstein in particular, she also was always supportive and helpful. Like, I really like this intergenerational support. Then Ingrid Dobeschi, I'm really inspired by her ability to do this kind of intersectional, interdisciplinary mathematics, like working with people who are art historians and finding Van Gogh paintings under another Van Gogh paintings using wavelets and stuff like that. I really love interdisciplinarity, and I think mathematics could be really useful to other scientists, and other sciences could be useful for us. So I think like I'm really in awe of all people who do interdisciplinary work in math. I'm thinking about Sabeta Matsumoto, who is working in US, and she works a lot with design and fabric and mathematics, and I really like this connection with real world objects that she has in her work and with physics. I was also thinking about Nalini Anantaraman, who is a mathematician, a French mathematician who really doesn't put borders between mathematical subdisciplines, and also her way of and like the inventiveness of her explanations about mathematics. I really like how she talks about mathematics with mathematicians, but also with journalists, and she really finds wonderful metaphors. I have a like hick for metaphors. I think you as well.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
um, I'm also thinking about Yulia Zhdanovskaya, who was a Ukrainian mathematician who did a lot of work in different villages in Ukraine. Um, she was killed in Kharkov by Russian army. And she really had this idea and this dream of mathematics as a joy for many people, and for people also in further geographical places, which I think not many people think about it like this. And there are many, many female mathematicians who are just great mathematicians and very humble.
You had such a list. That's very impressive.
Yeah,
I
and I think I am sure I forgot many people, and that's just a short version.
Yeah, myself, I don't have such a beautiful list, but I wanted to say that I'm inspired by Kirsten Wickelgren. Hi, Kirsten, if you're watching this, and and by Sophia Kovalevskaya. And about the latter, I plan to make a series of videos because okay, I cannot tell you much about Kirsten's life because Kirsten is thriving, and I should not share her life on YouTube. But I can tell you about Sophia, and the cool fact is that Sophia was interested not only in mathematics, not at all, or physics. She was also a writer, among other things, and I want to make a series based on excerpts from her book.
So nice. And she was also very politically involved. She participated in the commune. And Michel Audin, that I mentioned, wrote a wonderful book, Souvenir sur Sophia Kovalevskaya in French, that I hope you will like. It's really very nice. It's about the story of her life and also of her mathematics. And I did a little video on Sophia Kovalevskaya as well, in French, 8 minutes video about her top, Kovalevskaya top.
No, I should watch it. I'll make a video about her non-mathematical life, but I'll watch your video.
Yeah.
Okay,
What
Olya,
book are you based on? Like just
autobiography.
okay, because there is also I read her she has a very cool theater play that she was very inspired by Poincaré's ideas on chaos, and she wrote a theater play in 2 acts. In the first act you have characters and they do their stuff, and in the second act it's the same story, but at some moments they take another decision and it goes completely
So
other way.
she invented Black Mirror before it existed.
Yes, and she wanted to play it in the theater, but it was, as far as I understand, it was never put on scene. It should be
Wow.
done. It should
Olya,
be
what
done.
are you doing?
I'm speaking to you.
That's such a cool project to make
Yeah,
it
actually,
live.
I read it. I was, I have to reread it.
Yeah, so I was thrilled by her autobiography because it's extremely sincere, and that's why I want to share some pieces of it. So, Ola, before we slide away with our beautiful chat, is there anything else that you wish you could tell to your colleagues about gender equity, like a moment of teaching us something that we haven't yet learned from this interview?
How much time do you have?
You are about to pick up your child, as far as I know, so
Yes,
maybe.
it's true. So actually, I actually gave a talk 2 weeks ago in a conference, which is called "What Every Mathematician Has to Know About Gender and Science." So I put some information in this talk. So for me, I think one of the directions to study is social psychology. There are some very important results about stereotype threat. For example, the idea that so this is a experimental science. You put in two different lecture halls many boys and girls. You give them a mathematical test, quite difficult mathematical test, and to one group you just say, here is a math test, you have 15 minutes, and to another group you say, this is a math test. So okay, there is a stereotype that women are bad at math, and the idea that this stereotype, all of us, we have it. It's like when I say to you, imagine a French person, you imagine a guy with a mustache, a baguette, and wine. Like, it's the idea that women are bad at math. We all have it somewhere in our brain, because stereotypes are like automatisms of our brain, which are socially useful. That's how our brain is structured, but they're also simplistic and can lead to discrimination. And so having this stereotype in your head, when you are a group which is under the threat of the stereotype, can make you underperform. So what happens is that in the group, one group, we don't say to them anything, and to another group we say, here is a test, but know that this particular test is done as well by women as by men. So they don't say that stereotype doesn't exist. They just say that that women don't do worse on this test than men, only on this test. And so what happens that when you compare the results, women in the second category do much better. It passes from 8 points over 24 to 20 points over 24. Like, it's the same test.
Wow.
So this is one example. Actually, men do a little bit worse when they know that there is no difference, but it's not statistically representative in this particular study. It's not statistically representative, but there are other studies where they lose a little bit, but not too much, not as much as women gain. So this is one idea, which is, I think it's an impressive thing to know, because you really understand there is something, like there is a stereotype threat. And okay, this is a study about women, but you can reproduce it with white men when you tell them that in another room there are Asian guys who are doing the hard mathematical test. In this case, you compare two groups. To one you tell, to one you don't tell, and the men that feel endangered by people who are stereotypically represented as very strong in math, like Asian guys, they go down on their performance. They don't do very well. So stereotype threat, anybody can be its victim, depending on the situation and the framing. But women in math do suffer from it a lot. So this is one study, and another study on social psychology, which I think is also quite useful. It's a classical study called John versus Jennifer, where you send a CV, the same CV, but you change only the gender of a person, to many people, and you ask them to evaluate the CV and say, do you want to hire this person to be a scientific manager of some mentorship program. And it was a study on 5 American universities, where there were like 130 professors from different disciplines. And it's not very important either you are a man or a woman evaluator. You still think that women are less competent, you give them less salary, etc., etc. So this is one fact.
Yeah.
Only based on like a CV. The CV is exactly the same. And the second study is also trying to understand among all these evaluators who are really people who really underestimate women. And actually, what is the most predictive parameter is the following idea. When one asks you the question, do you believe that women are discriminated in today's society? Do you think we are biased? You are biased, you are personally biased. So people who think they are not biased do actually discriminate the most. So this is another fact I wanted to share. This is also proven like by experimental science.
Which advice would you like to give to young women in math?
Okay, no advice, my friends, because you will have so much advice from so many other people. So you won't get anything from me.
Okay, which support, moral support, kind words, anything?
Yes, I believe that knowledge can help. So I was preaching for sociology for 1 hour. I think really thinking that not psychologizing the problems you see, thinking about who is really responsible for this, and finding. I don't say blaming one person, even though sometimes it's just one person, but looking at what are the things that bring you to the suffering, and trying to find the way to limit the suffering. Uh, and also to speak about it, I think, and share with people that can help. In the laboratories and institutions today, there are actually some people that can help. So this is also an advice, and maybe an advice to men is to listen to women, and to understand that their experience, your experience, is not universal, and that other people have other experiences that you just can't understand if you don't listen. And or another way, if you are not ready to listen, is to read feminist books, because there is a lot of knowledge in them, and it's not only for women, contrary to what some library people think in Paris.
Okay, well, thank you very much. This was
I hope it
cool.
helps.
I think it does. And it was very interesting to talk to you and to listen about your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Maroshka.